going to make all of this hang together. And lastly, the partnerships that we need for this to really underscore how that happens. 2015 is going to give us a year of actions that we need to ask everyone to step up to the plate to, and it is important that we do that. We know how to do it. We've been given so many opportunities now to engage with it. You have representatives in New York, and my plea would be for you to really engage with them, to see what it is that they're bringing down to you, so that we don't get accused of another prescription. At the end of this year, after 3.5 years of an incredible privilege to be part of this, I go home to Nigeria. We've just had an election that we never thought we would have in peace, and a transition that happens on May the 29th. I come from a part of that country that has seen over the last few years the tragedy of having terrorism in our country, grown from exclusion, grown from part of a country that has seen climate change, from a lake that I used to get into a hovercraft and think I was going to London as a child, to one that's just a small puddle. To really seeing the desert come down, that we've failed to put the green wall up because governance and corruption has actually not allowed those resources that we're budgeted for to get into that place, to see so many young people that come without hope. For us to put investments in girls going to school, schools that I went to when I was a child, only to see that we excluded the boys, and at the end of the day, we had terrorists on one side and kidnapped girls on the other. That's complete waste of resources and gains, and we've condemned many, many to a lack of a future. But we also have to look at what we do post-2015. We're getting many of our girls back in Nigeria today, over 800 so far. And the real challenge will be, can we deal with reintegrating and bringing back their lives, healing what has happened to them over the next decade, 2, 3, for the rest of their lives. No short-term fixes will make it. And that's why this agenda is so important. That's why it's so important for us to know that the narrative has changed. It must change. And for that, I hold hope, because this is a tool I'd like to get back to say, well, at least in my part of the world, I can do my bit to make sure that we are value added to the whole. And that's what we've got to think about. What is our stitch in this tapestry, this global tapestry that needs to be vibrant, and it needs to stand up for sustainable development, peace, and human rights. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Very, very inspiring presentation from the Special Advisor to the UN Secretary General, setting the tone for us to get into the rest of the day. And so moving right along, I think that Senator Tiwari has to leave us. He has responsibilities of cabinet. Thank you very much, Senator, for spending the time with us this morning. Sometimes being in governance is a thankless job, especially all the things that you were talking about in relation to what your particular ministry and the administration may be doing that doesn't necessarily find itself into the public domain. I'd also like to thank Mr. Blewett from the UNDP here, and of course, our keynote address speaker, Ms. Amina Mohammed, who's actually going to be in a session with us. So let's give them a round of applause again. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so we get into our first session, Pillars for Sustainability. I'll invite the moderator of this panel, Dr. Giovanni Di Cola. Yes, come in. Are you going to be using the podium, or are you going to be using from the mic? You're going to sit. The option is yours. I can stay. Okay, all right. And his panel, Dr. Didacus Jules, Professor Patricia Mohammed. And we should have someone else with us this morning on this panel. Yes. Ambassador De Luz, Vice Minister for Latin America and the Caribbean. Yes, thank you for joining us. Okay. And we have a late addition to this discussion, discussing the Minister of Foreign Affairs. It's Grenada? Minister? Is it Grenada? Yes.
just would like, let's start. And maybe just an announcement about the panel, because there are a few changes, very notable, and at the same time interesting changes, which I think it's important to communicate to you all. Number one, we will have the Director General of Organization of Eastern Caribbean Countries, OECS, Dr. Day3. We all know him. We learned from him yesterday on a number of things. We all know that he's a specialist of education and training, and he will address the topic of education, the anchor for Caribbean sustainability. The second topic is going to be addressed by Professor Patricia Mohamed, Director of Institute for Gender and Development Studies at the University of West Indies campus of St. Augustine. And the topic is Gender Deficit, the Challenge for Social Sustainability. And then we will have actually the presence, and I would like to take the opportunity to thank the Vice Minister for Latin America and the Caribbean of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, Mr. Alexander Yanes Deleuze. I hope I pronounce well. He will be assisted for some complementary information by Luis Alejandro Sauce Navarro from Petrocaribe. And Petrocaribe, as you know, is the third topic. And what is amazing there is somebody from the audience the other day said, how do you put all this together? Because there is education, gender, and Petrocaribe. And I think it's very interesting because I would like to ask the Minister, Vice Minister, to define Petrocaribe. From my perspective, Petrocaribe is a development cooperation program, and from another perspective, just like Amina Mohamed was saying, is a partnership program. And I think we have to be open to those solutions. And then, last but not least, we have the Minister of Foreign Affairs from Grenada, Ms. Clarisse Modest Kerwin, who will be addressing some issues particularly related to development cooperation. And I'm proud to say that this is related to youth, and it is related to social compact, which was signed in February 2015, just a few months ago, in Grenada. And this social compact is also addressing some of the issues that my friend and sister Ida Leblanc was mentioning yesterday about domestic workers, about unions, and about labor matters. Evidently, coming from the ILO, I mention this because it's part of our job and also because that was raised by the audience yesterday. Now, I would like to take 2 minutes to address just a few preliminary remarks with respect to two comments which were yesterday from the floor. One is related to the different plans of actions. I think somebody very brightly indicated, we have to come out from this forum with a plan of action. And I was thinking over with my colleagues with whom we organized this forum, and I would like to throw back to you the issue of why not using the present existing plans of actions, for example, from OECS, strategic plan of OECS, the plan of action from ACS, and then the plan of action of CARICOM, and looking into the gaps, or better, to be more positive, into the linkages and the links that actually we should work on. And I think in doing so, not only the practitioner should work on it, but also those who are interested from the floor to participate in such an exercise. And in saying so, I would like to mention something that the Special Advisor to the UN Secretary General just said. The global agenda is not something that it is unrelated with national priorities, because MDGs have paved the way for national priorities to be connected with global priorities, and particularly now with SDGs. So you will find in each and one of those plan of actions actually a very clear, precise reference to SID's outcome document of September 2014 in Samoa, clear references to the SDGs debate, and clear references also, even though this is newer, to the financing for development. The second issue I would like to mention is related precisely to skills, and I'm privileged in having as the first discussant Day3, because himself, he mentioned yesterday what OECS is doing with respect to tourism, and I wonder if out of the forum, we should not come out with a clear indication, few recommendations about using projecting skills requirements in selected sectors of the economy of the Caribbean, because that would have an impact in shaping new training programs and skills that are not known to us. This is related both to economic sectors, but it is related to climate change, because climate change is essentially challenging us on the fact that we do not know sets of skills that were used before and will be needed again soon. And in doing so, I want to make a plea. And the plea is the following. I do not believe that youth are disconnected with the senior. And to my views, in fact, the new sets of skills will require a combination of traditional skills together with new skills. I take the example of coastal erosion, which was on the first day of this forum, and the coastal erosion is labor-intensive based programs. So this is something that we inherit from the past, and we have to reintegrate in the future. I think we should be innovative in this. We should use this opportunity through OECS, through CARICOM, through ACS, to make sure that we have those activities in place. And we tried already to do so not long ago. I am now in Geneva, but I left this region after 5 years and a half, only a month ago, to come back for the forum. So I know about those plans of actions because I've been working with my team on it. But also we have been working together with OECS, CARICOM, and ACS, particularly on this issue of skills for the youth, and not only for the youth. So by throwing this back to you, I just would like to, because then I would expect some reaction after the presentations, I would like to ask Dr. Jules to start his presentation. I know he has a PowerPoint. I don't know if you wish to come here for it. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Colleagues, over the last couple of days, a cross-cutting theme that has persistently emerged and an underlying imperative of all of the discussions, particularly the contributions from the floor, has been the theme of the importance of education. Personally very passionate about education, and I think that it is something that we need to take far more seriously than we have. Among the comments on Twitter yesterday was a comment that if the wheel is not a matter of just fixing things, we need to probably reinvent things. And I believe we are at a point in Caribbean education where we have tinkered enough with education. There have been many education reform initiatives by countries, by groupings. In the OECS, we ourselves have had an education reform program in for some time. What is required at this point in time is a fundamental rethinking of education in the Caribbean today. And the presentation, short as it may be, will seek to